It's time for another monthly devlog, and there's actually quite a lot that's been done this past month, at least on a visual sense. Because if you take a look here, aside from having the animations in for the character, visually this environment probably looks a little bit different. Now, don't mind the frame rate in the top right being a little bit lower than before. That is just because I'm currently inside of the editor itself because I want to show off a few different things. And one of the main things we want to show off, right, is this new visual style that we have. I've gone ahead and simplified it quite a bit. The character, because of it, reads a lot better. I think it kind of fits the aesthetic a lot more. And one of the main things is, if we come here and go into the actual dungeon, you'll see in here, well, it's all the way down, new visuals, carry it all the way to the bottom. Now, there are some parts of it that still need to be a little bit tweaked, but overall, it's working a lot better. The enemies read a lot better here, right? They pop a lot more. Now, visually, there's some stuff that's a little bit different about them because I have the neural map up because of this character. I need to tweak some stuff, but the main thing is there's a big visual difference here. And the main thing that I'm pretty happy about here with this style is all of this. The rocks, the bricks, the columns, absolutely 100% of the environment here, swords included, is done with a single texture. 100%, everything. Even those guys, the trees, it is all one single texture. And I'm quite happy with how it's turning out so far. And when I say texture, I don't actually mean material. I mean literally a single texture. And I mean this texture right here. This is what I'm using. And this is why I wanted to show it in the editor. It is literally just an RGB mask. We can see here, red channel, green channel, and blue channel just has different strokes set up. Now, there's a little bit of a compression artifacting. It's not a perfect, like, clean setup here. This is all from the compression. I could make it uncompressed, but with the style that I have, you really can't see those little imperfections. It's not that big of a deal. Worst case scenario, I can make it uncompressed. It is only one texture after all. But basically, I'm using this RGB mask to drive everything in this environment. Absolutely everything here. And there's a few things that I need to tweak, like this turning light blue as it kind of goes into the distance. So there's some parts of this that I need to adjust, but don't worry about that. The main thing is I am pretty pleased with this. And you might be wondering, well, how do I get then all of these different colors and everything like that? That is primarily thanks to this node called Color Curve. This node was introduced in 5.6. I didn't know about it until I accidentally came across it or something like it when I searched for ramp. Because now there's a color ramp. And color ramp, as you can see, you could just put in different colors. And I was thinking, well, that's really cool, but it has no input. I want to have an input here. And when I started looking into the color ramp, then I learned about Color Curve. This is why also I love things like blueprints and just being able to just search for something. Because if you just search color, right, you just find it like, oh, what's color ramp? And that can bring you down this whole rabbit hole in finding Color Curve that takes a curve and an atlas. So the curve is basically just a regular Unreal color curve. It is just like the one we saw before. I could set it between 0 and 1 and change the colors here, make it as harsh or smooth a gradient. And then I could put multiple of these curves into this curve atlas. You can see here, I have 3 different ones. Variation A, B, and C. So here's A, here is B. You can see this one's a little bit more concentrated on the bottom here. And here's C, a little more spread out. The main thing is not the color. The color here doesn't actually matter on any of these 3. What really matters is kind of the transition and changes to color. So this one goes from like more green to more yellowish, and that hue change is important. Because now basically I have 3 color curves and I can select between them right here in my material. Here's my color curve and I can just choose which of the 3 I want. So effectively, I can recolor that mask in whatever channel I choose, where the darkest now can be red, brightest can be blue, and now I have a cool gradient from one to the other, and I can add more stuff in between. But of course, then that would limit me to the 3 colors. Well, that's where you add in more control. Hue shifts allows me to just change the color anywhere I want. So now all of a sudden, this green one can be any other color. The main thing is, again, is the variation between the different ones, how contrasty it is, etc. So I can change the hue, change the contrast, I can add contrast, subtract contrast, I can tweak all this stuff and get a result where I can make it whatever color I want. So you can see here, the green one was originally made for this grass. If I go to unlit mode, here you can see the actual color. And on top of that, I'm adding some random color and value randomness. And you can see here on this one, that non-perfect like fringe does, you can see it here in the base color, but when it's fully lit, you can't tell. It's at least not to the point where it's noticeable and stands out. So honestly, it's fine. I'm not gonna bother making it completely clean, although I can always repaint it myself. And I did make that mask myself. I just went into Affinity, which is basically the equivalent of Photoshop, and I just picked a nice brush and I just started making strokes at different values. And then made one for the red channel, one for the green, one for the blue, put it all together, and that's what we got. So it's a nice simple setup. But this allows me to have all of that. Now, of course, here, I'm also using a bit of a normal map for some of this stuff. And the normal map is quite simple in my case. I'm just using a normal from height map. And with some exposed values and the ability for me to change the channel that I'm using, I can go ahead and just basically convert that one texture to have the normals, whatever I want, the strength I want, etc. Could I actually export my own normals for each of the 3 versions? Yes. Would it be a little more performant? Maybe, considering the normal from height map is kind of costly. But at the current moment, this early on, where I'm not 100% going to even keep the design, this is super simple. This is very quick. If I want to, I can now make a new mask and it'll automatically have everything populated. So it's super good. So thanks to this, I was able to create this look. And one of the things I just genuinely really like how it turned out are these blocks. This is all the same geo that we were using before, but it makes it look a little bit more painterly, right? And that's kind of the goal. I wanted to look stylized, but also a bit painterly. That's always been my kind of hope to somehow achieve. And I think while it could always look more painterly, I think this is a nice balance where it doesn't scream out at you, but it still reads pretty well. And again, same thing for these leaves, right? These leaves, you can see transition from this red to this kind of green. That's that same green ramp that I was using for the leaves and grass down here. I just put it here and hue changed it, changed the contrast, etc. And we got to this result. Now, some of this stuff is not just a single texture in terms of it is not just one color ramp. These, for example, use vertex paint and a layered material. So when I want something more advanced, like for those swords, or for example, for these statues, I'm using a layered material. I personally really like them for hard surface, and it also allows me to do stuff like this, where depending on how I position it, it will go ahead and randomize values, positions of the different pieces, how I want. And if I want to, I can just go ahead and kind of angle it down, right, and get a different result. So I don't need to create my own variations in terms of making sure that, oh, they're gonna need to look a little different, or it's gonna look like it's too samey if I put them next to each other. No, I can put them right next to each other and it'll be completely fine. And if I wanted to, I can really put them right next to each other. You can see here. And even when they're overlapping, it is not really a world-based mask, but it is a position-based one. So you see, I moved it over here and it's almost the same. So this is how much of an offset you need to do. And it'll be almost the same, right? If I moved it here, you can see it moves quite a bit. So in my case, when I move it a good amount, you're not going to be able to tell ever that most of the stuff is position based. That's how we were able to do stuff like this, where you can do nice mossy areas if you want on one piece, and another piece is going to be a little less. Now, this one has a little bit of a seam issue because it is still UV based, and this is just a model, right, I got from the pack, and it has a seam here. So could I get around this? Yeah, I can get around this by just rotating it this way, and now you don't see it, right? Because the camera is always from here. That's the very simple solution if I so wish. Or I can always try to randomize it a little more by just moving it a little. Now I have snapping on, so you see big changes, but if I turn snapping off, right, you'll get a lot fewer. So it's really nice. It's very convenient. And that's how I'm able to do stuff like this. Same thing with the swords. The sword pivot is down here, but if I move it up, you can see the old dirt and rust does change as I move it. So it's very convenient, at least for me. So that's how I'm able to do the entire thing here with one texture. And I really wanted to show this, not really to show off, although I am quite happy with it. It's more to show you guys this node exists. Color ramp is a thing now. since 5.6. I didn't know about it. I now do. And I think that's freaking amazing. Because not only can you do this, but you can combine that with vertex paint. Because you can just paint vertex paint as just a red channel grayscale and have it be colors. I want you to think about that. You can entirely color correct different parts of your mesh as complex as you want, for example, using just vertex paint. To me, that is kind of crazy. You just make a section black, a section gray, light gray, white, and then in the ramp, you just say, oh, this is this color, this is this color, this is this color, this is this color, and bam, you have your entire thing set up using just vertex paint for setting the tints. And then if you want to change them, you just go open up the curve and tweak the values. Is it the most user-friendly way? Debatable, but depending on what you're doing, honestly, that might not be too bad. Now, this is not the only thing that I've done this past month. Honestly, this didn't actually take me that long, surprisingly. I'm quite happy with it. The other thing that I actually set up is, right, all the animations. So we have the nice dash. It has been improved, so as I keep running, it is much better and smoother. And I've gone ahead and made a combo system. Look at that. Full combo system. So the way it works is you have 3 attacks, so that's the light attacks, and here's the heavy attacks. Light attacks have, I believe, a 0.75 second cooldown, and the heavy attacks have a 1.5 second cooldown, and as many as you do will be the cooldown. So if I do 1, 2, 3, this will be on cooldown for 1.5 seconds. If I do all 3 of the heavy attacks, then the cooldown will be 4.5 seconds. But you can also combine them. So for example, I can do left, right, left, and I'll do the first and the third attack as the light attack and only do the second attack as the heavy version. So you can combine the two and the cooldowns will go down according to what you used. If you use 2 heavy attacks, then it'll be the time of 2 heavy attacks. If you use 2 light attacks, same thing, right? It doesn't matter, you can play around with it. And that's important because not only do we have this, but on the spell version of it, I have made changes as well. So spell also has a little variation here. The main thing here is on the light attack, it goes multi-hit, little scatter effect on that third one, but on the heavy, we have the middle one having a scatter, and this works kind of a little bit differently, as you can see. So you have different attacks, and now if you want to do more scatter based, we can do left, right, left, and you have more scatter, or left, left, right has less scatter. You can of course combine just a left and the right click, right? Just any combination of the two. So it's a nice system in that regard where you can choose what you want, right? The left click light attack of the light is more of a forward thing. Same thing with the last one of the right. If we want to focus that, we can do left, left, right, and that kind of forces it more forward. I'll need to adjust the damage relative to kind of the area probably down the line. That part's not like ironed out, but it's a lot more intuitive now. And if you do a bigger combo, you have a bigger time. If you do a smaller combo, less time for the cooldown. I think that's the kind of the best compromise, and you won't go on cooldown until the combo's kind of done or you stop doing it. So if I did just a left click, then the combo obviously will reset. You have, I think, a 0.1 second since the end of the animation. The key word there is end of animation, because now you attack before the animation actually finishes, which makes it feel a lot more snappy. That also means for the special attacks, if I was to run down and press 1, you'll see how quickly I can do the attack and continue running as I'm holding down. It is now considerably faster. The reason is it is no longer waiting for the full animation to finish, which means that it feels a lot snappier. Now, if you were to press the attack, it still has more of the animation to go, and if you weren't doing anything, it would play the entire animation. But at a certain point, once the attack part is done, you're able to do other things. You're able to start moving and do everything else, so you don't feel like you have to dash cancel. Because before, you would have to do the attack and then just dash to basically do an animation cancel to get back to moving around. And then I realized, why am I forcing people to animation cancel? And that shouldn't be a thing. So I've gone ahead and changed it so you could just have it feel a lot snappier. The animations and the attacks happen faster because the animations are quicker, and you can continue moving around faster because, again, you're not waiting for that full animation. You're not forced to animation cancel. And again, same thing for the spell one, right? I can just run and spawn these and you can see right away, pretty much as it gets triggered, I can already move. So I don't have to feel like I'm actually stuck there until the animation's finished. I can do a combo here. Let's say I can do a full combo, then I can do heavy, and then the light one almost refreshes. Then I can do another light attack. Now, most likely you have to keep moving during all of that to actually avoid getting hit. It's very movement heavy, but it should feel a lot better because, at least for me, having the combo makes it feel a lot more interesting, because now I have to think, do I want to do a heavy or light? Because heavy does have more damage. It has double damage, but double cooldown. It also has bigger range. So pluses and minuses on that one. Depending how much time you feel like you're safe to take up to do a combo, I want to do one or the other, or how quickly you want to maybe go in, do a light combo, right, heavy combo, and then go back to light combo if you feel like you have enough time before the enemy does something, kind of get in the way, right? It's more interesting to me. But combined with an improved dash, I feel like combat-wise, it is a lot better. And for this next month, I've already started working on new power-ups. Here's a little sneak peek of the power-ups that I'm currently working on. That's all you're getting, along with potentially a visual style update for the cards to better fit the environment look. Now, if this all seems interesting to you and you would like to support the development of the game, you can grab it on Patreon, where you can join these wonderful people here in supporting what I do. It really means a lot. And if you'd like to join the community, the link to the Discord, everything is down in the description below as always. And if you're looking for something else to watch, consider checking out this video. I think you're really gonna like.